Welcome to the CX Factor webinar today. It's great to have such a massive audience today. I am your host, Luna. I am the Strategic Programs Lead and CX Community Manager at Resonate. In today's jam-packed brown bag session, we're going to tackle the two letters that's currently haunting every boardroom and every LinkedIn post, which is AI. I'm sure you're probably already, tired of these two letters. But to help us cut through noise, I am super honored to have Jacob, Head of Product and Marketing, with me today to join us for the webinar. He holds a very interesting background, so I'm going to talk about that. He has an engineering degree, but also an MBA in strategy. He has kind of done a lot of industries as a world tour. He has scaled businesses in heavy engineering, alcohol, fashion, healthcare, and telco across Asia, Europe, and Australia. He's gone from Otis Elevators and Bacardi Rum to Ray-Bans and J&J. Welcome, Jacob. You've got so much time on factory floors as well as retail shelves. And I'm pretty sure you always view AI in a very realistic, real-world lens. And that usually reminds me that AI cannot fix a broken elevator or it cannot fix your bad hangover after the night drink. So are you looking forward to our discussion today?
Absolutely, Luna. And great to be here. It's true. I've worked across different industries. One thing I realized about all these large language models, that and a guy in a bar at 2 a.m. actually have more in common than you think. So one, they can both talk extremely confidently.
Yeah.
And the second thing is there's a chance that they're hallucinating as well. As much as I love AI, I still wouldn't trust AI with my P&L and to make decisions for me. But again, in all seriousness, I really love all the new AI models that come in. I keep following the latest trends. But for me, what really excites me is, because of the experience I've had, is what's the practical application? What happens when the rubber hits the road?
Amazing. And I can't wait to hear about all of that. But before we start, I actually have a great surprise for everyone here in the webinar. Since everyone's so, engaged, and I'd love to see, a lot of people hearing from us. So I've got great news from the team saying that we're going to be sending out a few gift packs for the most engaging audience of today.
Excellent.
And you can definitely interact with us through the chat function. We'd love to hear you. And you can also raise questions through the QA function. We can address the questions later. I'd love to see those. So now let's move to the main part of the webinar because we have not a lot of time. Maybe Jacob, you can start by telling us a little bit about Resonate.
Yeah. Great idea. What I might do is, because we all know a picture speaks 1,000 words more effectively, I might actually share a video to start.
Sure.
When expectations are evolving exponentially, the line between what customers want and what companies deliver has never been thinner. Customer experience is the real growth engine. Those that understand flourish. Most companies that don't are slowly drowning. Meet Resonate CX, the AI-powered platform born from the idea that feedback should fuel transformation, not frustration. Every second customer feedback floods in from every channel. Our real-time AI captures every voice, filters the noise, and routes insights to the right teams instantly. Because great CX shouldn't be complicated. We make it easy, human, and fast. Go live in 3 weeks, act in 3 clicks, and grow in 3 months. That's why users love us. We're the multi-award-winning platform trusted by the most customer-obsessed brands across the globe of every industry. Behind it all are the best minds from around the world. Engineers, designers, data scientists, and CX analysts, building technology that makes customer experience effortless, scaling fast worldwide, driven by one purpose: make CX your competitive edge. The way customer experience should have been all along.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing this short video. But I'm sure we've got a lot from that. Now, regards to AI and cutting through the noise, what's your brief thought on this topic?
See, AI is unavoidable. So, whether you're a Silicon Valley startup or you worked in a traditional bank or you work in a traditional bank where digital transformations have always been a bit slow to take on, the one thing is you can't simply ignore AI right now. But the real question we're actually asking is, in CX, is it still a hype or is there a lot of value there?
Or is it even worse? Is AI actually doing harm? I feel nowadays everyone in every company looks at AI as being the absolute solution to all the problems. Where do we draw the lines?
What's really interesting is when AI works, it is incredible. But then the ironic part also is that when it works, it's almost impossible to realize it's running. It's just humming in the background. Like you don't actually feel it, you don't actually see it. It's just there.
It's invisible. Okay, so give me an example of this invisible wing.
Yes, let's take, for example, Netflix. End of this week, you're tired, you just want to kick back, have a drink, have some takeaway, watch some TV. Now, typically, it would have taken you so long to actually find some content you like. But now, thanks to Netflix, you sit down there and in a few minutes, you can actually choose what you want to watch. It might be the most obscure selection because what Netflix has been doing all along is trying to understand what you like, what you don't like, what have you seen half the season, what have you seen half an episode, what have you seen binge watched, what movies have you watched, and it kind of builds your likes and tastes, and based on that it gives you some recommendations. In less than 5 minutes you're probably watching something that you might end up wasting the whole night watching. Whereas in the past you would have spent 1 hour, found nothing useful, and ended up watching a few reruns.
I see. So that actually reminds me of Google Maps.
Yeah.
Because it's not flashy, but it always reroutes me in real time and saves me minutes back.
Correct.
I think that's AI being relentlessly useful. So that's the help part. We've also mentioned harm.
Yeah.
Do you have a classic example of AI actually going very wrong?
This reminds me, pre-COVID, there was a very big retailer in the US that spent millions of dollars in sentiment analysis of email. Great idea, great concept. They managed to actually roll it out. But bottom line, it actually didn't give any value to the customer.
That's weird because I feel they are trying to do the good things and knowing if a customer is happy or mad is important.
It is, but then they actually had a satisfaction guarantee policy. So if someone sends an email, what they're unhappy about a product, the customer can either exchange it or they can actually get the money back. No questions asked. So what it meant was all the emails were mostly first response resolution, and all the money they spent, great idea, was never really used because the sentiment analysis actually helps you when you've got an unhappy customer trying to figure out how to respond. It solved it. You didn't need technology. It was a policy that solved the problem. So no value, a lot of money spent, but no value.
Now I get it. It sounds very like the European car wash chain that you talked to me about. There are 3D avatars.
Yes. Yes. There is a European chain that actually had a 3D avatar to talk to you when you came in for a car wash. But think about it. Most of us just want to pay the money, roll up our windows, get our car washed, leave. Maybe even sitting in our PJs. So again, cool tech, probably the wrong place.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want any human or robot seeing me in my PJs. I think it's the right time for us to move on to tackling the 3 biggest myths in AI part. I think the biggest one, as well as the scariest one, and I'm sure everyone here has already heard, is, AI is coming for everyone's jobs. You're going to be jobless. Is the goal of adopting AI in CX really just to replace the entire supporting team?
Excellent question. The big question we always get asked is AI going to replace humans in front-facing roles? So last year, we commissioned a study, and this covered both USA and Australia. 2 separate studies. It was statistically significant with 95% confidence. What came out clearly for us was 9 out of 10 still preferred humans to resolve their complaints. And interestingly, 2/3 madly supported humans' intervention for support problems and didn't want to talk to AI at all. Now, this led to us trying to dig a little further and trying to understand, so why? What's the problem? And when we looked at it, the top 3 problems contributed to 70% of the reason. It is things like AI doesn't fully resolve my issues, or it lacks empathy, or takes too long in repetitive loops. If you look at it, it hangs around the lacks empathy or personal understanding. Think of this situation. You have a telco bill shock. It happens to nearly everyone. There's a telco bill shock, suddenly a big bill. You call the call center and you say, why did my bill go up when nothing changed? Now think about it. It sounds like a really innocuous question, but there's context, there's intent, there's timing, there's expectations. It's a complicated question. It's a loaded, complicated question. Even the best of customer support reps would struggle to answer that. And you know how it's not easy interacting with humans, right? There's so many factors that affect their mood. It could be the weather, it could be their health that day, it could be, their boss or their kids, it could be anything. Best of reps would ask a question, and if they see the customers losing their cool, they can immediately ask another question. They still probably need to ask 4 or 5 questions before they get to the bottom of it. But AI, as much as smart as it is, it would struggle to understand that context. Even though it probably asks the same 4 or 5 questions, humans actually feel that they're going in loops. They don't understand the emotional state. One of the conclusions from the study is AI is here for customer support, but not to replace customer support. It's going to be a hybrid model in the future. So either you start talking to an AI model and then it's handed over to a human very fast, or you talk to a human that uses AI to resolve your issues and reduces your time. So basically a hybrid model.
I get that. So it's basically AI is going to be our teammate, not like it's going to replace us.
No.
I totally agree with that. And because you mentioned about like some people think AI actually gets us or understands us even more than humans. So is that something that you agree or disagree on?
I would say AI is amazing, but AI still doesn't get humans. And one of the things to think about, yes, it can learn, it can all of that, but at the end of the day, like I have an example. I've been married for more than 10 years. I still don't think I get my wife. Like, I still don't know what to answer sometimes. And there's books like, Men Are from Mars, Women from Venus, all these books, which it shows how complicated humans are. And we are the ones that are actually also doing a lot of the inputs for AI to understand emotions. We don't understand humans properly, completely. How is AI ever going to understand? And again, like I said in the previous myth about how emotions, certain questions, it's not able to understand the context. And that leads to this satisfaction gap where 88% still prefer humans, only 12% prefer AI, which then leads to customer resistance. And it all boils down to one thing where I don't think AI gets humans yet. There's still a lot to go. I mean, again, humans don't get humans.
Okay, I think that's a very interesting angle because we kind of tend to think, oh, AI knows everything, but we forget that AI is, behind AI is human. Now let's move to the last but not least myth is we know that a lot of leaders, they're like, oh, AI is coming. And because AI is so hyped, they think we can just plug in AI and then it will instantly manufacture our customer happiness and satisfaction. So it's just like a magic switch. What do you think?
I mean, I wish it was that way, but sadly, no. End of the day, AI is technology. Technology means transformation. And we know, I'm not going to go through all of these stats, but bottom line, these are from top consulting firms, universities. It all boils down to most technology transformations are not successful. Less than 50, maybe even lower than that, actually succeed in terms of getting some outcomes. AI is going to be no different. For example, you could think about the AI for sentiment analysis by the big retailers successful from an implementation point of view, but not really from a success point of view or an outcome point of view. AI is not going to be a switch and turn on. There's a lot of work to be done. Why are you doing it? How are you going to replace it? What's happening? There's a lot of thinking. So no, short answer is no. It's going to be very helpful when it works, but it's not going to be a switch and turn on.
I get that. So it kind of reminds me of analogy is you are baking a cake with boiled milk. Even if you've got the fanciest oven in the world, it won't do any good.
I love the example. Yeah, you're banging on that one.
Okay, cool. And I think we've talked a lot about the tech, the myths, and everything, the data backed up. I want to step back to talk about CX, which is our webinar's title series. And CX, I know customer experience has been a popular metric on a lot of the leadership reports. Do you think it's just a good to have metric for the reporting purposes? Or is there actually something bigger in the market?
I believe it's no longer optional. We are living in an experience world. In the past, you could compete on price or product. But think about it. Today, you make a new product, and in less than 2 weeks, someone can actually copy it. Another 2 weeks, someone can copy it and sell it cheaper than what you're selling. But the one thing someone can't copy is making you, or steal for that matter, for that point, is making your customers feel. That's something only you can do. That's something that is strong with your brand. That's the experience. And that's why I think CX is now no longer optional.
It sounds to me like CX is going to be the last remaining competitive advantage in this AI era, just because everything is so easy to copy.
Yeah, I agree. See, look at the titans of the world, right? Amazon, Apple, Disney. CX is something they just don't track. They eat, sleep, and breathe CX. And the thing is, they've set the bar so high that customers don't compare you with your industry. They compare you with the world standard. I still remember many years back, I was talking to my son's childcare manager, and she was jokingly telling me that one of the parents expects them to work like Amazon. Instant updates, by the second what they're eating, how much they've eaten. It's crazy. We laughed about it. But think about it. Amazon, childcare, they're not the same industry. They're not anything alike. But in reality, the world expects you to be exactly what the world standard is. It's not your industry bar, it's the global bar now.
That's very scary for a lot of businesses, because you are being compared with the world's best companies.
Yeah.
How do they keep up with that?
I think one of the things is you need to stop looking at feedback as postmortem. And I think in simple terms, look at it as live. What's happening right now? To give you examples, I remember when I worked in large corporates and Fortune 50 companies, we used to look historically at last 3 months data, last 6 months data. So you'd sit in June and then you look at Feb and you'd be like, what? This explains why we lost so much revenue in March or February. But it's too late to do anything. What it means is you just spend more money on marketing acquisition. Try not to make that mistake again. But if you're tracking it live, the moment your score goes down, the next thing is, it's a lead indicator. The next thing is going to be churn or loss of revenue. You actually have time to fix it. Something you need to be treating as an everyday thing.
So to summarize, it's going to be a smoke detector that helps you to prevent a fire from the early signs. It's not going to be, CX is just like, when we see a house is burnt, we're like, that's why it's burnt. That's not going to work.
Exactly.
All right. I love all of these examples. And now we're moving to Resonate.
Yeah.
You focus on the listen, discover, act, improve loop.
Yeah.
So how does AI help us, and what have been your focus areas?
So like I said, listen, act, discover, improve across all of these. This is our guiding principle, but across this loop, we've made sure our product is embedded and native with AI. But what I can do is, I think we're going to focus on a few.
Yeah.
Let's focus on listen first. One of the things we've done in listen. The reason I'm focusing on this is because at the end, it all comes down to the feedback. If you're not able to listen, we'll never know what to discover, what to act. Now, one of the challenges in the industry, I call it the ghost score. Someone gives you a 9 or someone gives you a 4, but doesn't tell you why, but leaves feedback like staff was good, staff was bad. So initially, when you just start, it's great to see that 9 or a 4 because it tells you where you are. Over time, you can track whether it's going up or down. But to really make an impact, you want to see why they're giving you the 9 or the 4. With such an answer like this, you really can't do anything. But imagine someone was actually sitting there live asking, okay, thanks for that, but can you tell us a little more? The question is tailored to exactly what they've asked or what they've answered. And all of a sudden, even with the extra line, you get more content like helpful, knowledgeable. And you're like, great, these are some things that we've been working on. And this is something that I can see in the responses as well. That's not all. The other thing is when they give you your driver scores, we also then ask for improvements. What the AI can then do, like an interviewer sitting there hand-holding, can ask questions specific to what they've said, which means we get richer data. So again, it does not increase the amount of time a customer has to spend, but rather it's the same people who are giving feedback, but just getting more quality feedback.
I actually really like this AI interviewer, because I definitely sometimes just put a score and maybe 1 or 2 words. But if someone's prompting me of saying, can you say XYZ based on my answer, that's definitely going to be helpful of recalling my memory at that time.
Absolutely. A lot of people need a nudge sometimes, and that really helps to get an extra bit of info.
So tell us a bit more about the second stage, discover.
Discover is the part where people tend to spend a lot of time. Most people spend time on the discover part. Everyone's very time poor and maybe even a tad lazy like I am. Going through all the feedback, trying to understand it can be a bit challenging.
Yeah.
And it reminds me a lot about my dad. He sends me so many newspaper articles and he still hasn't stopped, by the way. I feel really bad. Every day he sends me 4 or 5 newspaper articles. Being the lazy person I am, I just don't read them. We have a conversation and I have no context to what he's saying. He feels really bad. I want to be a good son. So what I started doing over time is just reading the headline. And just reading the headlines gave me enough context to have a conversation, not make him feel bad. That was when we released this feature initially. It was like a fun feature. We called it the Resonate Feedback Herald.
Oh, I love the name. It sounds like a morning newspaper for me.
Exactly what it's meant to do. It gives you the inside scoop of your business without spending time. So let's say you're a store manager or a center manager. You've got a morning huddle with your team. In 2 minutes, understand what's happening, what's the weather report, what's working, what's not working, what's good, what's the good news, what's the not so good news. Everything in an easy, fun way. It's something you can share, something you can even print out and keep it there so people can see it. You don't have to do any slides or anything. Or even for that matter, when you've got a regional meeting or a meeting with your execs, you've got so much to do, other operational things. This makes your life easier.
I love this. It looks really fun and very easy to digest. So we've talked about the good parts, but I know a lot of leaders, they are kept awake at night because they can't ignore some of the potential bad things. For example, legal issues, compliance, all of those. Have you thought about this in your product design?
Absolutely. And this is again something we've released recently. We were looking, for example, in 2024, retailers spend about almost $9 billion in compliance and operational failures. 25% of families leave childcare because of fixable or preventable issues, incidents. And 30% of business B2B customers lose their customers because of unaddressed service failures. The whole point when we started is, for example, you have one coffee shop, every single customer by name, what milk they like, how they like their coffee, what temperature. But then you're doing well and many people are ambitious. They'd like to grow. Now you have 10 centers or 15 centers. All of a sudden, you have no idea what's happening in every store. And if someone does something silly, even with the best of intentions, like customer says, I don't have my card with me right now. I don't have any cash on me. Let me do one thing. I'll go home, pay for it when I go home. Person at the coffee store, your manager is like, yeah, sure, no problem. Just send me a copy of your card and I can pay it here. We know that's a compliance issue.
Bad.
And who is going to be responsible? The owner or the director. Intentions are all good across the board, but unfortunately, it is a compliance error. And if it happens more and more, it could become snowball into a massive issue. The thing for us is how can we actually address that? And the inspiration we took was airlines. If at any point the check engine light goes on a pilot's dashboard, there's a problem. And the minimum cost, if it's a genuine problem, is at least $200,000. They've got to reroute the plane, reroute passengers, land in a new airport, all of that. And the maximum cost is unaccountable for. So they've got a really cool tool called a digital twin. And what it does is it checks things like heat, vibration, friction, and so on. And it tells the engineers if something adverse could happen 40 hours later. And that was the inspiration when we came up with the Risk Radar. Is for these leaders, there's so much information that they actually have to go through. What if we could actually pick up the few that we think they need to pay attention to? Not the hundreds, not the thousands, but the 1 or 2. Like, for example, Adam Smith has called 3 times, hasn't been resolved. Or Jane complains about someone asking for her credit card details by email. These are small things. Maybe it's poor training. Maybe, again, like I said, intentions could be fine, but it could be poor training. All of this is it now. We're using your data, not getting anything extra, but giving it back to you in a form, thanks to AI, that works as an insurance for your brand, for your reputation. After all, it's the execs who are responsible for managing risks. We're making it visible to them.
I love it. So it definitely helps the senior leaders to make sure that they are aware of the potential PR crisis that could burn out the company.
Excellent.
Cool. I think there are a lot of things that we covered today, and I just look at the time. We're already running a bit out of the time, but before we jump to the Q&A, I know a lot of you have probably other meetings lined up, so feel free to scan the QR code to follow Resonate CX, as well as connecting with me, Luna, and Jacob on LinkedIn. We're happy to always chat about CX, AI. This is what we are passionate about. And of course, stay tuned to our next webinar. It's going to be coming soon, and we dive deeper into this topic. So if you need to go, don't worry. If you can stay for a couple of minutes, then we're going to be looking at the QA section and see if we can find some interesting questions to answer.
Maybe let's answer 2 or 3.
2 or 3? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's actually really interesting and important to clarify. So it's related to CRM and customer experience. So the question is, we already have a CRM where we keep all our customer notes. Isn't that already enough to manage the customer experience? What is the difference?
Great question, because I think AI or not AI, this is something that we get asked a lot. The difference between your CRM and your platform is your CX platform is CRM has all the customer data, who the customer is, whatever data you collect. What it does not have is how did the customer feel about something? How did the customer feel about the purchase? How did the customer feel about an interaction they had with you? What's the general relationship feeling the customer has? Is the person a promoter? Is it a person a detractor? So if ever there's a call or there's a chat, you could actually tailor your or personalize your experiences much better, and that's what a customer experience platform does. The CX platform is the sentiment and the feeling, whereas the CRM is just data. How it works is typically your CX platform would integrate with your CRM. So it's a layer on your CRM and not your CRM as such.
I think this is something also I learned, because whenever we talk about CX, people are like, oh, CRM. But actually CRM is just collecting the facts or like the objective things.
Yeah.
But for the more subjective like feelings, like their sentiments, their relationship, we need a CX platform to handle all of that.
Yeah.
Let's look at the second question now. If our company wants to start using AI in CX tomorrow, what is the very first thing we should do? Do we need to learn how to code?
I think I'll answer the second part.
Yeah, sure.
First, I don't think you need to learn to code. If you want to start using AI in your customer experience tomorrow, I think the first thing to know is, I think for me, it all comes down to the why. Why do you want to do it? What's your objective? What's your goals? I think you always have to start out with your goals. Don't worry about the technology. The technology is something secondary. Of course, it's important, but not critical. Your primary thing is the why. Why do you want to use AI in your CX? Like, what's your current state? There's a lot of the why that you need to figure out. What is the outcomes you're looking for? Then you would start looking at where's your opportunity, where's your biggest cost, where can you invest to improve your CX? And that's when you start thinking about how AI would integrate with your CX or how AI would be part of your CX. So start with the why. Start with your thinking about the end goal, so like visualize the outcome, and then I would suggest thinking of how AI would fit in.
So it's not like jumping into the solution mode. We need to define the problem first.
Yeah, I think that's a myth 3, right? We spoke about it.
Yeah, agreed. Last one, I think we probably have this as last question. What skills should I be learning to make sure that I am AI ready for my future career in CX?
That's extremely okay. I'm gonna see how I can summarize that to a few sentences. I think for me, I would start off again with the why. Really important for you as an individual to focus on things like critical thinking, empathy. Critical thinking very important, because AI is great. AI can tell you a lot about the what. It can tell you about the how, but some of the critical thinking, because remember, it's input. Some of the critical thinking sometimes can be a gut feel, which you then have to validate. Those are the things that AI doesn't have, because AI can, with all the data, it's able to give you the what and the how, but some of this critical thinking has to come from you. You still needs to come down to the why for you, the critical thinking. You still have to have that, and then AI is a great tool to take it to the next level. So for example, if you need to present something to your board or to your manager or for an interview, you should use AI, to help you with the presentation. But you've got to then put your effort and your shape on top of it to take it to the next level. So I think you can't lose the critical thinking. And I think the second part, I think, is obvious. I'll still state it, is keep an open mind and keep exploring, because there's new things coming in every single day. It's fun. Try it out. Don't get stuck with one.
Okay. I think that's very good answer. I know it's not easy to answer, but I think we should all keep our human side.
Yeah.
So we don't compete with what AI is good at. Amazing. I think that's probably the end of our webinar now. I'd love to say a big thank you to everyone who has joined the webinar. It's great to have you, and I look forward to see you again.
And I think one thing, you promised some gifts. So
our team.
So watch out for an email from Luna. Please respond to her in the next.
Yeah, if you're in Sydney, we can probably catch up for coffee and talk more about the topic. If you have anything that you'd like us to chat next time, feel free to connect with us and then submit your ideas. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks, everyone,
Thank you.
and see you next time. Bye.